Piers Morgan completely humiliated Neil deGrasse Tyson, and we also have to dive into how Neil deGrasse Tyson has fell from grace. It is one of the saddest things you could absolutely witness.
What I see is sports is on the frontier of how to handle this frontier of people who are trans. It's on the frontier of how to resolve that. And I'm making this up now. Imagine the future of sports does not distinguish sex. It distinguishes and sorts people by hormone ratios. I'm making this up, but imagine that.
Of course you're making
if that
it up.
were the case. That would be interesting. You get a hormone test, you're in this range, and then you compete against other people with the same range of hormones.
That's ridiculous.
That's
Neil, that is ridiculous.
No, it's not. I'll tell you why it's not ridiculous.
You're going to give every single person in
wrestle.
sport a hormone test.
Hold on.
What's wrong with Neil deGrasse? It's something that liberals, I don't know, when you join the liberal hive mind, it seems like it takes away a few bodily functions. One of them is common sense, thinking with resolve, and it appears to be, well, lack of control in motor functions. And you can see it all the way from Nancy Pelosi, from Kevin McCarthy, down to Neil deGrasse Tyson. And as you can tell, it's not exclusive to just liberals. The symptoms are severe. Some might have called it TDS, but I think it's actually a symptom of the liberal hive mind. Because once you join the hive and you get too deep in it, you end up gaining the same consciousness as the source of the hive. And it is madness itself. So in terms of him going mad as he is, he's reached the final stages of the liberal hive mind. Mind you, this was one of the world's most respected scientists. By kids mostly, but he was respected. People respected Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I used to wrestle, and wrestling, there are people who weigh, sorry, am I using pounds here, 125 pounds, right on up to 240 pounds. They don't wrestle each other. The entire sport separates people so that the contest is interesting.
Yeah.
And so the people of the same weight wrestle each other, and that is the contest.
But if Floyd Mayweather...
I don't know if that's how it will land.
Hang on, Neil. If Floyd Mayweather fought a woman boxer, a female woman boxer, who was the same weight division, he would annihilate her. That's why we don't let it happen. And in fact, in the Paris Olympics, the winner of one of the women's boxing competitions, one of the
Piers,
females who took her on...
About.
But my point is that I just think that, if you don't mind me saying, I say this respectfully because I love you, but it just seems to me like you've dug yourself into a slight hole on this issue, and you're trying to get out of it. Now you're suggesting slightly mad theories, whereas the science.
And yet again, he's losing control of the bodily functions. Like I said, it's my belief, my actual belief, that it is an effect of the liberal hive mind. He's not able to control his arm functions, his motor functions. He's not able to control much of himself. He's just completely gone off the rails. Now, how in the hell does this even make sense?
To me, it's obvious. You've already given the best argument I've heard for why we separate the sexes.
Hold on. You misquoted me in this very interview. What I said was the idea of creating categories within a sport, splitting them in the example I gave, which I just made it up, like hormone ratios, is not fundamentally weird compared to dividing wrestlers by weight.
No,
because
it is.
The only reason why you do this is to make an interesting contest.
No, Neil, you're wrong.
And so you said Floyd Mayweather fight. Hold on.
You're
wrong.
Said
Floyd Mayweather.
You're not allowing for the superior male biology when it comes to lung capacity, stamina, to body mass, to muscle mass, all those things. If you just take one criteria of hormones, you're not allowing all that. I'll give an example. Caitlyn Jenner, who obviously... hang on. I'm going to finish my point. Let me finish my point. Caitlyn Jenner was an Olympic male decathlon gold medal winner. Caitlyn is a big golf fan. And when she started playing golf after she transitioned, she was allowed to play off the women's tees, which are 50 yards further than the men's tees. And she quickly realized that she was still smashing it 300 yards down, and obviously was then beating all the women that she played. So she now plays back off the male tees because her biology is that of a man. And I feel that was the most honest way to deal with it. I also feel that if you want to have a separate category, have a trans category. Or have...
That's brilliant. I love this. And yes, and I've said this before, if it has to be, allow transgender transition people to go against themselves. Why do they have to have inclusion? Why can't they be their own thing? Since you don't match a typical human being in terms of hormones to physical mass, you should have your own ability to be treated like a human. If that's what is necessary, then allow them to compete among themselves. I don't see that as demeaning to have people compete among themselves, because it's pretty demeaning to a woman to have to box a man and lose this fight. I'm not speaking of transition people. I'm just speaking on the same scenario that Piers Morgan did. That if Floyd Mayweather was a boxer, was to box a woman, he would dominate her completely, entirely. And it's just not fair. At least what we've considered what fair is. For as long as I've been alive, it wouldn't be that. So I don't really see a problem with us having our own leagues for transgenders. I think it would be one of the best things to move forward. Everyone could have their way. And I don't see it as demeaning in any type of way whatsoever. It's not like we're treating them or calling them the Special Olympics. It's their own specific thing.
Trans women compete against men, which is their biology. Isn't that the scientific way to resolve this?
I don't have a solution. What I started this section of the conversation by saying that how you handle trans athletes is a frontier in sports that does not yet have a full solution. And I made up an example, like maybe you could divide people by hormones. I don't know if that would work physiologically, but at the end of the day, we watch sporting events because they are competitively interesting. And so something's going to have to get resolved there, and I don't have that solution.
I do.
I do.
You have a trans category, or you have the trans women compete against biological men, which is what they are. And I completely respect trans rights.
That may be. That may be how it's settled.
That's the handlers right there, y'all. But you see that? That's the handlers calling. They said you fucking. Hey, that's how you know it's fake. The handlers start calling them. Look at that face. The handlers trying to give them that call. We just saw in real live. I can't even get the words out. We just saw in real time the handlers called Neil deGrasse Tyson when he started losing the narrative, because that's all these people are. They're another mouthpiece for a narrative. And although it might be an absurd take, there's been seeds of this nonsense coming from Neil deGrasse Tyson for the past 2 years, believe it or not. That's when he began making his transition to the liberal hive mind. And you'll see that after this film.
So what Elon is pioneering is not what is impossible in space exploration. He's pioneering what was unrealistic in terms of price, in terms of cost. So the engineering is getting a workover, but consider that he hasn't done anything that NASA hasn't already done. The actual...
So, and that's where the cap comes from. And I have my problems with Musk and stuff. He's not a perfect person. No one is. It's just complete cap to say he's done things that NASA hasn't done. NASA is constantly calling on Musk and SpaceX for aid. And this is my problem with politics. It finds us being so biased. I just spoke about this in my last video. Hey, Neil deGrasse Tyson isn't an idiot. He has been driven to insanity. I'm not for calling accomplished people idiots and dumb. You know, Hillary Clinton isn't dumb. Barack Obama isn't dumb. These people might not be liked, but I feel like the best way to approach a problem is to be completely aware about what it's capable of doing and not doing. And these are some capable people. And that's what breaks my heart when I see them push this horsewash, this bias BS. And you know what? They don't really do that until they become overly political. Everything was so much better before it was overly political, regardless of your stance. I used to love the TV show The Boys. And I can't tell you, man, it breaks my heart what they did at that goddamn show. They completely destroyed that shit. I've never seen a show go so unhinged. I got to stick to the topic. As you can tell, I'm passionate about it. But things shouldn't get too overly political, regardless if it's liberal or conservative. And that's the same for people that didn't start off as established political figures.
Space frontier is still held by NASA. right? And so, and it remains to be shown if his.
I'm not gonna cut it off again. I'm not that quick. But listen, how can he say it's still held by NASA? Tesla gets all of these government contracts. How it's absolutely absurd to say that the space frontier is actually still held by NASA in 2024. NASA isn't trying to get us to any of the places that Musk is, and the only reason why it. I mean, why are we even talking about this? We're comparing an independent company to fucking NASA. Like, that's a conglomerate of our government now.
His new ventures have commercial support, commercial value. Because if they don't, then it's a one-off and it's a spectacle, but it'll just, it'll go, what'll happen? It'll, we'll applaud it, but then he goes on to his other projects.
If I can't force you to get an abortion, you shouldn't be able to force me to get
Because it's not about you.
And as I said, there's been seeds of Neil deGrasse Tyson doing this ignorant stuff. And, oh my God, it gets worse. It gets worse. That's why I said about 2 years ago, it appears that he got the bug from the liberal hive mind.
It's about people you interact with, and that's the social contract of public
But we don't even know if the vaccine worked or not at the time.
Yes, that's what the trials are, dude. That's why these trials. Are you missing data out there?
But let me ask you a question. If you get it, you're not going to get. If you take the vaccine, you're not going to get a Rachel Maddow, Joe Biden. I can give you Fauci. I can give you fit. And you've seen these clips before. It's not like you've never seen it before.
Yeah, what happened?
They were wrong.
Hold on. So
He loves to not let people talk. What's up with this Negro?
the strain evolved
over time has been to communicate scientific knowledge to the public.
Yeah.
Watch this absolute, and this is the Grand Slam. If you guys been following a couple of my recent videos, you know we like to end this thing in a good Grand Slam, and I got a Grand Slams for you right here. Neil deGrasse Tyson is only a shadow of his former self.
My only point was that if who you decide is male and female in the street is a construct of of style and trends and what the beauty industrial complex wants you to see, if that's how we establish gender, then maybe some people want to be fluid within that gender.
However, what I would say is that the conversation in the public consciousness has become prominent not between people who want to defend the right of anyone to dress how they want and the people who want to prevent that. The reason the conversation has become an issue is that we assign and allow certain privileges to people based on their sex. If you are female, you get to compete only with people of your sex because females are at a disadvantage in physical competition to males in almost every sport.
So I'm wondering whether the future of those sports is you don't contest gender with gender, you contest hormone ratios.
Well, hold on a second.
What
but
do you think of
the differences physiologically between men and women are not just hormonal. Women.
Am I the only person that's sad to see this happen to this man? Look what they doing to him. He looks like he's been held in a dungeon and released to push liberal narratives. He reminds me of Franklin the Turtle. And I don't have no philosophical reason as to why he reminds me of Franklin the Turtle. He just does. And it's sad to see this man become what he is. We're talking about someone that was an esteemed scientist, mainly for kids, but an esteemed scientist that has completely went against gender, biology as a whole. This is what the liberal hive mind does. It has you go against religion. It has you go against biology. It has you go against any fundamental any fundamental system of science and education. See, the liberal hive mind, to fully accept its embrace, you have to disconnect from society. You have to disconnect from all of the hard work and all of the progression that humanity has made. To join the liberal hive mind is to let everything that makes sense go and replace it with things that just simply don't. There's no other way to sell that. They're replacing it with things that don't make sense. And it only helps the hive mind to understand who is truly for them, how many slaves they really have, if they can convince humans to regurgitate this garbage. Because if they can convince people to regurgitate it, they'll know which ones they truly have. Because if you can push this type of rhetoric, it shows that you're so far gone, you're ready for the next phases. They're just here to try to get you there.
Have a different hip angle, they have different heart capacity, they have different lung capacity. I mean, there are profound physiological differences, different bone density. We've had professional athletes on the show to talk about it.
I don't have a problem with that. Then you find ways to slice the population so that whatever the event is interestingly contested. So, for example, I wrestled in my life. I was captain of my high school wrestling team.
He loves to talk about this wrestling thing. Have you guys know? Is this deja vu? I swear, in the former clip, he was just talking about wrestling. Was he already doing it on this clip? Hey, could someone timestamp that for me? Please do me a solid and timestamp when he first mentioned wrestling. Was it this clip or the ones before this?
It would be unfair for me at 190 pounds, which is what I was back.
Also, if he was referencing this wrestling thing before, I'm going to have to see some wrestling photos of Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Then, to wrestle someone 120 pounds.
Hold on, it would actually be unfair for you to wrestle someone who is also 190 pounds but female.
Let me work my way there. So, what the trans conversation is foisting upon us is the need to find ways to slice the athletic universe such that we still have interesting fair matches. And is it a combination of did you go through puberty as a male and then transition? Did you have puberty blockers? What is your hormone level now if you want to compete? So it requires more creative thought rather than saying no.
It can't go unnoticed. The fact that someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson doesn't typically be hitting you with the uhs and ums that much because he's well spoken. But when you're pushing lies, when you're pushing information just to get paid for, it's a lot of uhs and ums because it's not coming from the heart. Why do you have the uhs and ums? You're thinking about what to say next. It isn't passionate language. So what he's pushing right now is just absolute BS rhetoric. He's just trying to get the message out there, and he's just trying to remember his roles. He's trying to remember his scripts, which is why I don't like reading from a script. Because the uhs and ums, unless you're very proficient with reading a script and staying on script, they're going to come. They're almost inevitable. And it's a problem with understanding the script. It's very easy to detect. And to me, it seems like he's trying to remember some talking points he was given. Not that he researched. He's a scientist. But how many people from watching these videos are convinced that he's actually done study on biology on this topic? Now, you would think it wasn't. And you can even look at his old videos that contradict everything he's saying now. But it isn't as if he's found some new revelation. Guys, understand this. We're in a very dangerous time. I want to point out the fact that this is a scientist pushing BS, right? Pushing about emotions, pushing about social norms and the construct of humanity. All that sounds good. But what about the science? We've reached such a dystopian part of life where scientists aren't even speaking science no more, where preachers aren't even preaching anymore, where doctors aren't even healing anymore. This is the effects of the liberal hive mind. It replaces everything that was fundamentally great with things that don't make sense.
Do it all. Let's be creative about this. It's an unsolved problem, yes, but it's not unsolvable given what we know about human physiology. So why not rise to that occasion and solve it rather than take your older view of the world and force modern emergent conduct of people to fit that? I would go deeper to that problem. So
but
you
there
don't
are
even have
women
to have that question.
whose opportunities are being curtailed today because they are being forced to compete, whether in sports or elsewhere, against people who have some kind of advantage over them.
We're in a transitional period, so we have to figure that out. But the way to figure out things that require solutions to progressive change is not to regress it to how things once were. If that were the case, I would still be drinking from a segregated water fountain. Okay? Oh, let's merge the water fountain.
He is hitting all marks on a box. What does this have to do with segregation? And I'm not saying anything. I'm not talking about it being real or not being real, none of that. I'm just simply asking a real question. What is what he's talking about has to do with people being segregated? He's checking all marks. All marks of the liberal hive mind is a disgusting disease.
And let's create the opportunities from below so that we don't even need the short list. Okay? That's how I would approach this. So yeah, we're in the middle of solving that problem now. Let's figure it out together.
I think a lot of people would have an issue with what you're saying, Neil, is because they see women being denied opportunities. They see an unfair playing field, metaphorically and literally speaking.
So fix the playing field, damn it! What? Don't say it's an unfair playing field, so all of a sudden the big issue...
We fix the playing field by doing what Piers Morgan said. Put the transgenders in transgender places and let everyone play together and be one happy. I won't even do all that. But listen, let everyone play together and do their own things. Let everyone have their own separated sections in sports. It only makes sense. Don't scream at these people that simply ask you questions. What can they do to fix the playing field? The playing field is messed up because people with the liberal hive mind are trying to convince us that we can do things in the opposite way and get forward results. You see, when something is opposite, that means they're going in two different directions. So the opposite of forward is backwards. They're trying to tell us that we can mix and intertwine both and still go forward. If anything, it'll keep us stagnant. It's absolutely crazy that they're pushing this, and they get mad when they don't have an answer. Did you notice that? Liberal hive mind also makes people furious when they don't have an answer. You're telling us to make an answer. Make an answer for your own problem. It's like setting a city on fire and vilifying the firemen for not putting it out fast enough. They create these problems for us that conservative traditions, conservative ideology, and conservatives as a whole have to fix.
Is trans women taking the slot of a woman in an unfair playing field? Fix the playing field. And you know something? The day you fix that playing field, this conversation will look completely ridiculous. That's what I'm trying to tell.
It's ridiculous now, Neil deGrasse Tyson. God damn it, the conversation is ridiculous now. It's so sad to watch them use these black men and have them tap dance for massa. Isn't it? It's like, man, some of you guys would have actually been amazing field Negroes. Like, seriously, you would have been amazing. You guys would have never, ever, ever made masses mad. You guys do whatever you told, whenever you told, to be accepted. And it's unfortunate they don't get to live in the prime that they're supposed to live in, since us being free now and all. It's unfortunate because some people don't get to live to their calling. And I think Neil deGrasse Tyson has missed his calling. But please don't miss yours, and please like and comment on this post to help me continue to boost it up and maintain this new view average that's keeping me posting these 2 episodes a day, making sure I keep it going and stay updated and motivated, and click the notification bell. Appreciate all of you guys, and see you on the next one.